Hey, it's Dr. Hillary from Rangeline Chiropractic. I have a special guest today. Emily Adams is going to talk to us about overcoming limiting beliefs. So, hey, Emily, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about one of the subjects that I'm so passionate about.
Yeah, why are you so passionate about that? Tell us.
Oh my, that could take all day, but I'll keep it to a short version. I am so passionate about it because I think
Oh, we seem to have a little bit of loss of connection. As we all know, this happens when we're trying to do streaming. So, such a bummer. We were just chatting earlier about how things like this sometimes don't work out for us. And I know anyone watching has had that problem too. We're like, surprise, some technology doesn't work no matter how hard we try. Oh, there she's back. Yay!
don't ask me what's going on. But anyway, as I was saying, and I don't know if I interrupted something that you were saying.
No. I was rambling on because I knew something like this might happen, and I'll just keep talking.
So every point in my life, I've had to overcome some kind of limiting belief to move past or to be resilient in what I wanted. And it started for me in the early age of like 17 when I left the Amish culture, overcoming the limiting belief that I couldn't do something. And then being a single mom at the age of 23 with two boys. So overcoming that belief of like single moms can't go back to school and get a degree. And then leaving the corporate world. So I got really good at overcoming any limiting belief that I had and to really reprogram it to actually start serving me.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of reprogramming, what are some ways that people can reprogram? That's a great word. I don't often hear that, but I love that you said that.
Yeah, so it starts with like the awareness. So, for example, the awareness of around what I guess maybe we should start with what is a limiting belief.
Okay,
And,
we can back it up a step. I'm so like excited. I'm like, tell me more.
so, a limiting belief is any excuse, any story, anything that we have that is holding us back from where we want to go. So, for example, if I want to lose 20 pounds or I want to be the strongest person in the gym or whatever it may be, I may have some limiting beliefs around it. You know, I don't like eating vegetables could be one. I don't like working out, or I had the limiting belief of I hate cardio and now I've started running. So it's all the excuses and story, and it can be in any part of your life. So it's just having the awareness. And if you don't know, if you're wondering, well, what is my limiting belief? Ask someone that you're close to, and they can tell you what you often say, like, I don't like vegetables, or money doesn't grow on trees if you have a bad limiting belief around money. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what a limiting belief is. And the first part of that is having the awareness that we actually have that limiting belief. And, you know, that's a story we keep telling ourselves over and over. And then it's like we get to dig deeper. It's kind of like having an onion and peeling back the layers. Mm-hmm. Where did it come from? Why do we have it? And some of it you can figure out pretty quick. Others you have to dig really deep. And I will say, like for me, a lot of my limiting beliefs and story were very childhood related, of like being told, you know, you're not good enough unless you get like all A's in school, or you can't do this because females don't do that in the Amish culture. So there's society, family, friends, we all pick it up. We pick these stories up and we take them as your own. Or when someone tells you you can't lose weight because you have a hereditary, you know, issue, you just take that story on. Mm-hmm. So once we have the awareness, we can ask ourselves where and why do we have it? And then what's the new belief that we want? So if the new belief is, we believe that we can lose weight, or we believe that we can make more money, then that's what we start reprogramming. And the reprogramming process, it's just like anything else. It's a muscle that you have to keep building. It's not, it doesn't, you don't go to the gym one time and have abs the next day. It just doesn't happen. And I wish, right?
Oh.
So it's like a muscle. The more you work on your mindset and really reprogramming, and I tell people you can literally take this process of understanding what your limiting belief is, the awareness, understanding where and why you have it, and then starting to reprogram it, rewriting it. And this is a lot of times where people will use what they rewrote as their affirmations. So if you write, you know, I can't lose weight because I hate vegetables, you may reprogram that to, I can lose weight, vegetables are good, or they're good for me, if you don't really want to admit that they're good. And then you can use that as reprogramming, slowly keep telling yourself that, right? And then start taking some action towards like things that you would want to do to lose the weight or to make more money. Like what are some aligned actions for losing weight? Maybe it's exercising every once in a while or whatever it is. Or if it's making more money, what actions can you take? But the reprogramming is literally just a thought process. So if you think of it, you've been conditioned and programmed like a highway, like Interstate 74, if you go down 74 ever, like it's just a highway. But if you try to reprogram, it's like going off of a dirt road. You can't just do it once and expect the path to be paved like the 74 is. So it's like always reprogramming and redirecting those thoughts. And one thing I found really helpful is downloading a free recorder on my phone. And I will record all the things I want to reprogram. And those are basically my affirmations. And when I get stuck in that phase of this is hard or I can't do this, I listen to that. And it's like a reminder. So it's like a reprogramming of it.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm more of like a sticky note type of person of all my things and, you know, affirmations, but I like the idea of your own voice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's, I've also noticed that I love music. So I just have a recorder on my phone of like, I can record, my music is playing in the background on Spotify and I can record on top of that. So it's kind of like relaxing and uplifting at the same time and like listening to myself say it. And don't record your affirmations if you're not in a high energy, because if you're in high energy, then it comes across like,
I love working out. Yeah. I'm so excited to go every day and work out. Don't do that? Is that what you're saying, Emily?
Yeah, but if you do it like when you just get done working out and you've got that pump and you're like, man, that was incredible. And, you're in that different state and the different energy, then it's like when you listen to that on the days you don't want to go work out, you're like, okay, now I can go work out.
That's cool. I love it. I'm totally going to do that today. I'm too tired to work out.
It's not that hard. It's just when people think about, the stories and the limiting beliefs we have, a lot of times we have to get really honest with ourselves. And sometimes that's really uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to realize that we aren't where we want to be because we're stuck into this cycle. And sometimes that cycle is we keep telling ourselves we're not ready or we're waiting for perfection or whatever it may be. That kind of paralyzes us in that spot.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of things that I hear in my office are I'm just old, right? How many times a day do I hear that? So if I have like 50 or 60 people a day, I probably hear that 75%, 50 to 75%. That's just because I'm old. I'm like, no, it's not. Jeez.
But it's a story that they picked up, right? I mean, it's a story that they choose, age is just, I will say it often, age is just a number. I didn't become an athlete until I was like 30. Like I didn't hit my 1,000-pound club for powerlifting until last year, and I'm 32. So age is just a number, and there's tons of powerlifters or tons of people that still work out and are very active at a like 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm. Or
So,
even 80s and 90s. It's crazy.
yeah.
You know, crazy to think like we limit ourselves, and it's like, again, age is just a number, right? There's people out there doing it. It's just not your friends and family, you know, or whatever. That's what I want to say sometimes. Like, oh, they're out there. You just aren't friends with them, but you could be.
Or they, they picked up that story because that story also keeps them safe and comfortable, because then they don't have to necessarily do the work.
Yeah, we like our excuses, don't we?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they keep us comfortable. They keep us comfortable.
Yeah. So we've got that great tool of recording. What else can help us like overcome our beliefs?
I would say if you don't already journal, doing some daily journaling activity. And before you think that journaling takes some special skill, it doesn't. I promise you it doesn't. It is really easy. Some journaling I would do is understanding of like the awareness of where I'm at versus where I want to be. And just sit down and write and feel what comes up, because sometimes that will trigger us to take other action. And then the other tool I would say is, this is actually something I make all my clients do, is block out 2 to 5 minutes for an entire week. 2 to 5 minutes, that's all. That's like a couple commercials in your TV break, right? So block out that time and literally sit down and write down every single thought that comes to your mind. Every single thought. And it's not to judge it. It's not to be like, oh, I'm thinking that I don't have enough time, or that I'm fat, that I'm overweight, or that I don't love myself, or whatever it is. It's not judgment. It's strictly just writing it down. And when you do this a couple days in a row, you'll see that you have patterns. And those patterns are all linked to something. Those patterns are linked to, lack of belief, self-love, whatever it may be. And then you kind of know, it's just another level of awareness that, wow, this is where my thoughts are. And then we also start being aware of the way we talk about ourselves. We say, well, if I hadn't messed up, this wouldn't have happened. We're so hard on ourselves. And it just brings the level of awareness. So once you have that pattern, then you can start to even dig deeper and ask yourself, where did it come from? And this, I no longer want this. So you want to get rid of it. And I tell people on your last day, circle the thoughts you want to keep and X out the thoughts that you don't want to keep, and then start the reprogramming phase.
That's awesome. That's to be very visual to see too. The circles and the X's and where you want to be. When you're describing, I was thinking of even like a line and then like where you are, where you want to be, and then, what's standing in your way, that type of thing. Of course, I'm more visual, so I like that type of stuff.
Yeah. And it's, again, when you do the exercise, I can't stress enough, because I learned the hard way, is do not judge yourself, because we're all in this together, and it's no one is better, no one is worse off. But just be aware and don't judge yourself, because you've been programmed for years like this. Society, friends, school, family, like it comes at us everywhere. Mm-hmm. So now you have the power to be aware and change that thought process, and start overcoming those beliefs that are in your life.
Yeah. So hard, but with time, right? Time and repetition of doing it. It's easier said than done sometimes, isn't it? Like for you to come on and say that, and I don't know about other people, but it's like, oh man, that seems like a lot of work. 2 to 4 minutes every day. I got to write down my thoughts. I don't even like my thoughts. I'm scared of them. Right?
I call it the mindset reps, because, I go to the gym and I do the reps, and, I'm honestly working out. I'm very passionate about working out, so it's easy for me, right? But the mindset reps are something that I struggled with for at least 2 or 3 months. And I would find myself every chance I got, repeating my affirmations over and over, because I had to do a lot of self-love work and a lot of self-worth. And it was like, I thought that it was impossible for people to actually say they actually love themselves. And then was doing this course, and they made you look in the mirror and say, I love you. And I couldn't do it for the longest time. But I realized like it was in my programming, and I had all these limiting beliefs about myself and how I was raised and all this. So it's definitely not easy, but very, very rewarding.
Yeah. When you mentioned your coaching clients, what type of clients do you coach?
So I coach mostly women that are in business startup or have a business idea, and they know what they want, but they don't know how to get there.
Hmm.
Or I've had some that they potentially want to start a business, but they want to work on their mindset before they actually start the business. So kind of two different versions there.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense to work on it before you start the business, because then you're just setting yourself up for success. You know, things they don't teach you perhaps in business school, or if you didn't even go to school or college about business. I mean, things you need to know, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I'd love for you to post afterwards a link where people can get in touch with you if they want some more help, if that sounds good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I will also post that PDF that I put together as well.
Oh, yes. I'm excited to see that PDF. Awesome. And then tell us about what the PDF is.
So the PDF just breaks down what I broke down. So it's writing down your awareness, like what is your limiting belief? And I encourage you to not get overwhelmed, just to start with one or two and start working through them. And then where did it come from? Like why it's there. And then, because you've got your awareness, you acknowledge it, and now you know where it comes from. And then what's the new belief you want to have instead, and to start reprogramming that.
Nice. I love it. I love little like workbooks and handouts to do. So I'm totally going to print them out and do a few and start small and then work my way up to a binder. No, I'm just kidding. I'll put them all in a binder.
I'm pretty sure I had notebooks full, so no judgment on the binder. Trust me.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Emily. I really appreciate it. Even though we had the minor mishap of technical issues, but to be expected this day and age, huh?
Absolutely. I know. It's technology, right?
I know. Thanks so much, Emily.
You're welcome.